We're going to start off this series with an editing video, and we're going to turn this image into this one. So I use a range of tools to manipulate my images, but today we're just going to use one, and that is Adobe Lightroom. Let's jump right in. So here's our RAW file. I always shoot in RAW. There's tons of information and videos on the difference between file types, so I won't go into detail on that. For this shot I used the Canon 5D Mark IV, and you can see the settings I had here, including the lens, which was the 24 to 105mm f4. The 5D isn't your typical street camera, and I'm sure that some very serious street photographers will gasp in horror at me using it for street photography, but you know, I'm here to break the rules. So the first thing I'm going to do is crop the image, and the beauty about using a 5D for street photography is it's full frame, which means when you crop you don't lose too much of that detail. So I usually crop in a 4:5 ratio for Instagram because it's the biggest portrait size that will display, and I think that will do about there. Yeah, so now I'm gonna tweak the exposure because it's a bit too overexposed and we're losing the focus on our subject, which is that guy. So actually I'm going to bring it right down to almost 2 stops below. I'm going to reduce those blacks a little bit as well, probably about 20. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so I'm liking how these shadows are exposed at the moment. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the brush tool, and I'm going to paint, I'm going to paint this guy here a little bit, just to give him some bring that up, possibly bring the shadows up a little bit of contrast and some clarity in there as well, just to make it pop. See how that's looking. So it's a bit better now, but it's still not quite bright enough, and there's a lot of, you can see there's a lot of noise in the image as well, which we've got to edit out soon. But first, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to put a radial filter over this bit, and I don't want any exposure, but I just want some clarity. Probably about 50. Yeah, something like that's good. And I'm going to lower the exposure on that just ever so slightly. 26 is good. And then, you know, I'm actually going to duplicate that and put one on him as well. And I'm actually going to raise the exposure on him slightly, just to make him, just to draw the eye to him really, because he is the main subject of this image, and he deserves all the attention. By the way, this picture is actually taken in Wuhan, in China, which is usually where I live, but due to the coronavirus situation, I've had to move back to the UK temporarily. So this is an old photo that I'm editing from, let's have a look actually, this is from, yeah, April 2019, and this has been sitting on my hard drive all this time. It's actually a really nice image, I like it. So right now we're looking good. So we've used the brush tool and some radial filters. So I'm happy with how it's exposed right now. Let's go down to the tone curve. So a lot of editors do use an S-curve like this, 3 points. Bring down those blacks. The tone curve is an extremely powerful tool, so I would, less is more with the tone curve, that's what I'm trying to say here. Definitely less is more. Now, a lot of people do like that faded look. You know, you can really fade the blacks up, but I tend to not do that anymore. I used to, but not anymore. I kind of like those deep blacks now. I'm just going to bring the middle point down ever so slightly. Yeah, like there, looks good. I mean, it's a very subtle change, but it's a change nonetheless. It just makes those blacks a little bit deeper. Adds a bit of depth to the image. And the colours, you know, the colours, I don't think I'm going to mess with the colours too much on this particular image because I think the colours are pretty good. What I might do is I might just raise the saturation on the blue. No, I'm not going to change the luminance. Yeah, and I think that's about it. Now, I usually do raise the saturation on red. If there's any red at all in the image, I do raise it, but we've got this tiny bit here on this pole or something, and yeah, he's got some blue, and just take the orange down ever so slightly, I think. Yeah, that looks good. So occasionally I will use split toning, but not on this image. I think the colours are pretty spot on. So we come to the detail. So sharpening, I usually sharpen my images quite a lot, 90 or 100. Probably go with 90 on this one. But this is the important part, the masking. If you hold Alt on your keyboard or the Option key on a Mac, you can see where will be sharpened, and the places where the software will sharpen is the white parts of the image here. So I don't want to sharpen everything. I just want basically, I would say something like that is good for me. Look on 1990, just to be OCD about it. There we go. So you can see that has had an effect. You see? And actually, if I put the colour noise reduction down, you can see this is how the image was taken in the camera. So I shot here at ISO 8000, which is fairly high, but the 5D can handle it, and with the dynamic range that the camera's got, it does allow me to push these noise reduction tools in Lightroom quite a fair way. So the color works really well here. I mean, you can see on his face here these greens and reds and horrible sort of yellows, and if I zoom in a bit closer, you know, the individual pixels you can make out here. So if I pump up this color noise reduction to about 20, yeah, it just takes out those odd weird artifacts. Now we're just left with sort of normal noise. So a way to describe it. So I'm gonna add some usual noise reduction. Go to 20. You can see it does soften the image quite a lot. So to be honest, I think that might do it. I don't really need, because he's quite far away in the image, it's not going to be too much of a problem, the noise. Lens corrections, sometimes I use profile correction, sometimes I don't. In this instance, I think I will. Just, it takes out ever so slight distortion, and I will always check this, remove chromatic aberration. And I think finally I'm going to add a vignette, because I want the edges to be dark, but not too much. A very subtle vignette on this one. Maybe 20 on this one as well. Oh, a bit less actually. Yeah, like 14. Around there is good. I think it's looking, I think we're almost there. I think this guy could be ever so slightly brighter. Not too much. What was it before? 151, yeah, so we'll do push that up to 170-ish. And I think something like that works. So yeah, that would be my Instagram post. Here's the before and after image. I mean, you can really see a big difference. So there you have it. That's my editing process. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing and liking the video. And if you have any questions or anything to say at all, just drop a comment below. And also don't forget to check out my Instagram to see all my latest work. Thanks for watching.